Sunday.
Sunday fun day.
How's everybody doing? Yeah, exactly. It's like, I was trying to find information on the border crisis before we started here, so I'm like, it's a lot. It's hard to find, but I think I got some. How are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's called pancakes. A pancake coma.
Well, apparently this is going to be a riveting Sunday show, everybody. Get your blankets and your pillows. We're going to try and put you to sleep.
Yeah, buddy.
My God, you got home from church, went out to eat with your family. Time for a nap anyway.
That's
and we're
right.
here to help you facilitate it, apparently. All right, well, where do you want to start? Don't everybody talk at once.
Wherever. We can start with the old border, I suppose.
It's been hard to find, and if anybody, it sucks because YouTube, you have to be a mod to drop a link. DLive can whenever they want to, but I have been trying to pull things up from different places. I stole this one from Red Pill Scab, which by the way, if you don't follow him on Gab, he posts some really interesting stuff all the time. Red Pill's a good dude. I like Red Pill. But this is from the Conservative Brief. I really don't know that well, but I mean, if he's posting it, I'll take his word for it. But it says Biden officials grilled by Chris Wallace on media access to border. Now, everybody knows that if this had been Trump, the media would be losing their mind. Number one, over how many kids they're keeping, the extent of time they're keeping them, then talking about releasing all these people, because I just saw something, and I'm trying to find it now, where they're talking about they're contemplating on just releasing these people into the country without even giving them a damn court date. There's so many people that are fleeing to the border right now. And so this talks about how actually even Chris Wallace, who is whatever Chris Wallace is on Fox, but there's a whole discussion to be had about Fox, blah, blah, blah. But apparently he even kind of drilled down on him about what's going on. So he spoke with the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. I probably said that wrong, but about the limited media access to the border. Of course, they're in here, they're using COVID. Well, there's a pandemic, even though they're not testing any of these people for it. And then they're talking about releasing them into the country without even being tested. But the excuse we're given why the media can't access or go down there is because of COVID. Make that make sense. I don't, it's literally, they have, you ever been taught that lesson where if you tell the truth, it can be painful and stuff, but you never have to worry about what you've said, because the truth is the truth. You can repeat the truth. But if you start throwing about a bunch of lies, it is real easy to get tripped up on your lies. You start trying to figure out what you said last time to this person because it wasn't the truth. Eventually that stuff comes out. It's like they have spun the world with so much bullshit of a web that now they're all getting stuck in it. Like, I mean, it's everywhere, and I'll show you some of that today as well. But they're talking about how he called him out, and said that, hey, why aren't we down there? It says, why has the Biden administration refused to allow reporters to see for themselves to record what the conditions are under these minors and how they're being housed? Wallace said, why, in fact, did you, when you went to the border on Friday and led a congressional delegation, why did you refuse to allow reporters to see the conditions under which these minors are being held? Mayor Caucus said that we're in the midst of a pandemic and that we are focusing on our operations, executing our operations in a crowded border patrol facility where hundreds of vulnerable migrant children are located. Vulnerable. Okay, gotcha. We're working on providing footage. So we are working on providing footage. What does that say to you? They're going to give you the stuff that they want you to see. So it's going to be cornholed through his administration, who he's got down there at the border, of what they release. Did Trump get that same courtesy handed to him, or was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez down there crying like it was the end of the world? I don't know. But anyway, so they called him out here, but it's Wallace. They're using the COVID as the excuse. We all knew that was going to happen. And then this is Biden officials blame former President Trump for crisis at the southern border. So now he's being blamed. He's not the one that rolled back the regulations and basically announced, I don't know how many times on the television set, that, oh, no, we're going to give y'all all, citizenship. You're all very welcome. Basically, we're going to just open up the wall and all of you can come pouring in. And now people are coming and pouring in and people are blaming Trump. But of course, this is what's crazy. Suddenly the flow of foreigners to the border exploded. I wonder why. Custom and Border Protection agents apprehended nearly 100,000 people at the border in February. Last April, just more than 16,000 were captured. You see the difference? This is now Biden's team is blaming former President Trump. Biden officials claim Trump officials did not fully cooperate with his transition team. Are you kidding me? The Pentagon wouldn't fully cooperate with Biden's transition team, hindering their ability to get a realistic view of potential migration. Are you kidding me? When you go on national television and say, welcome to America, folks, we might have a damn illegal immigration problem. Just a thought. So there's that. And then it says, watch illegal immigrants came to the U.S. Basically, see, there's my dog. He knows I'm live on air. He needs to bark. Definitely wouldn't do this under Trump. And it says, well, come on, son. Come on. Oh, hang on. See, this is what happens on live TV. He wants up here with me, And he's like, keep me up here. Okay, so it says, watch illegal immigrants came to U.S. basically because Biden was elected. I'm sorry about that, but he is my kid. I have to pause. But it says that they were asked, it says, Rats did ask, would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president? Definitely not. Definitely. We have a chance, you know. The same environment that's been going on today wasn't there last year. The man responded, we used to watch the news, and I definitely wouldn't do this. Reddit's followed up. So you did come here because Joe Biden was elected president. Basically, the man said the main thing was the violence in my country, and the second thing I think was Joe Biden. Again, though, Trump's fault. Says illegal aliens across the border. Would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president? Definitely not. This is the tweet that it was found in. Since Biden's November win, immigrants have been flooding the U.S.-Mexican border to cross illegally into the United States. Last week, several migrants gave similar reasons why they chose to enter the U.S. at this time to the New York Times, as the Daily Wire reported. Immigrants who are swarming the U.S. border say that President Joe Biden promised them that they would be allowed to enter their country. So that's what you get when you spew a bunch of shit to try and get elected, and then you see what happens whenever people come to cash the check. So it says that the number of migrants crossing into the United States has reportedly overwhelmed the U.S. Border Patrol. One facility, in Donna, Texas, was at 400% capacity last week. 400%. One facility. I don't see Antifa down there throwing Malty cocktails at the ICE facilities now. What's going on? But anyway, so, and the kid situation and all that. I think that's my last one on it. I got one video, though, I was going to show. Let me make sure I have that pulled up to show you where maybe some of this came from. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Oh, the March 19th, the U.S. Border Patrol detained 9,300 unoccupied children. The children thing is what nobody can dismiss at this point. There's so many kids that they're, all the stuff that was lauded on to Trump about being a horrible human being. Now we have, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times the problem going on right now with these kids being detained. And nobody is saying a flipping word. The media is awful quiet about it. And anybody that believes the media at this point anymore, the mainstream media, is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous, because we know. There it is. Okay. I'm going to show you this. This is from, by the way, 2 months ago, but I'm going to highlight the date of this video to show you how I wonder what changed. This is from January 17th. What was happening on January the 20th? Why would people maybe start making the journey at this point? But look what happens here. Look at the amount of people. That's horrifying to me. Yeah, but they're flooding. They're flooding here now. All those people are at the border going, "Hey, Biden." They've got shirts on. I showed Breaking the other day. They had shirts on that was like, "We're here, Biden," or something. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's, of course, all brought to us by the Soros Open Society Foundations as well as USAID. That's all been documented, too. And, of course, folks, I hope you understand exactly what Cloward Piven strategies are, because that's exactly what is going on. This is not a migration. This is not an immigration thing. This is purely an invasion into the country that is being allowed to happen. And at the same time, we have pretty much a media blackout that's been instituted by this regime. And at the same time, the order followers are just letting it happen.
Well, how do you cripple a country? How do you cripple a country? How do you try to think about it like what we've been told for the last year? We have had Americans that have been born, raised, and have called this country their home their whole lives, losing everything, losing their business. 60% of businesses were shut down during COVID, and they think the majority of them will never come back up. You have people that can't afford to feed their own homes or going to churches to get hands out for foods. You've got Americans right now, the unemployment is horrific, and people struggling in Americans about what the hell they're going to do. And at the same time, we got an administration that's opened up the floodgates to our southern border so we can you think all these people are coming in with a bunch of money and already a job? What do you think the first thing they're going to go do is apply for government assistance? Yeah, it's like, you can't, like right now America is struggling. We got to fix ourselves. We've been shut down for a year. And you think that's the time to open the border? That's their plan to
No,
me.
I guarantee you that most of these folks who will apply for this, who won't bother to go back to any court dates, if they even have them at all. I've heard some stories that they're actually not even handing out slips for these folks to go hit court dates anymore because,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point? But I guarantee you, folks, if you're expecting your little $1,400 stimmy check from good old Uncle Sam, rest assured that these folks are probably getting well more than that. And it's not just the people side of things, the trafficking, because that's exactly what it is. The exploitation of folks in that by these cartels, by the Soros types, and you name it, that are moving these folks into cheap labor camps and that here around these United States that take up jobs and benefits and everything else. But it's also the drug trafficking as well. And that's what this Custom Border Patrol Border Protection article highlights here. Customs Border Protection officers at Hidalgo International Bridge sees 944,000 worth of methamphetamines, which is a known problem. We just had the Sackler family. Sackler? Yeah, I think that's the Sackler family, and that with the fentanyl stuff here, just in the last week, propose terms and conditions of their latest round with the government and what they're going to sacrifice after getting hauled to court and everything else. And so the drug problem and that persists. And think of what has happened as a result of all this COVID business. People aren't dying of COVID per se. People are dying of the effects of COVID, the loneliness as a result, the shut-offedness, if you will, behind the scenes of all these lockdown campaigns and everything else that most of these little petty tyrant governors and governments around these United States have put forth. And so people are turning to drugs, committing suicide, you name it. And this is just more of the same. U.S. Customs Border Protection Office of Field Operations at the Hidalgo International Bridge intercepted the $944,500 worth of alleged methamphetamine that was being smuggled into the United States by two persons arriving from Mexico in a Dodge Ram pickup. On a daily basis, our frontline officers continue their focus on securing our border while facilitating lawful trade and travel, said Port Director Carlos Rodriguez, Port of Hidalgo, FAR, and Anzalduas. This methamphetamine seizure with two arrests is emblematic of the commitment and vigilance. And that's highlighting back on March 18th. But as far as information on how many people are being picked up on a per day basis, we're kind of having to wait for reports because there's a little bit of data dry up. Custom Border Patrol, ICE, and that I follow with some of the feeds behind the scenes, and not much really being reported there either. I think it's done by design to hide the mad rush of folks. You do hear some snippets in that as well of various mayors. There was one down in Texas here recently that said a mayor, and I forget which county it was, just overnight had busloads of folks dumped into his county with little warning. And it's a return to the same policies that happened under 44.
What about them getting the assistance? About getting the checks? I knew I'd seen it before, and this is where Ted Cruz blasts Democrats over COVID aid. Indisputable that illegal immigrants are receiving checks right now. What do you think is going to happen to all these people that are rushing the border? Again, while we're in our most dire time because they've lied to us and locked us down for a year and people have lost everything. While we're being told that this pandemic means you can't even go celebrate with your family on Thanksgiving, we're these thousands and thousands of people at the border are not even being tested and released. You can't make those two things make sense. Are we living in a situation where Americans have to stay locked into their homes? But you're also going to tell us on the other end that let's just let in floods of people. All these people are not from Mexico, by the way. There's people from Haiti. I think Syria. They're not just people from Honduras and Guatemala. That's a facade, if you believe that stuff. These
Yeah,
people
you
from
got
all over the damn world.
China, Iran, Middle East, and they're loading them onto planes without paperwork. Literally, all they have to do is carry this little piece of paper around from ICE or Department of Homeland Security, from what I've seen, and it grants you access to everything. Uh, so who knows exactly what is being let in? We don't know what exactly they're carrying by way of disease or anything along those lines. And again, to your point on the whole COVID business, it's no different than last year when Trump was still able to do his rallies and that around the country. Oh, no, no, no. Conservatives and you guys in the MAGA movement, no, you guys can't gather. But hey, by God, that BLM and Antifa folks, that's not considered a super spreader event at all.
I know. I know. And then I had brought this up this past Wednesday about when Biden and the whole microphone thing happened with his hand. The headline of that article was him about him not going to visit the border. I wonder why. See, it says not at the moment. Biden won't visit U.S. Mexico border mid crisis. Again, if anybody is wondering why nobody listens to the mainstream media, and if you don't believe that it's propaganda and these people have become activists, not journalists, then think about what would happen if it was the shoe was on the other foot, and all the crap that Trump took because he didn't hurry up and get down to Texas whenever they had the hurricane or whatever. Oh, they were blasting him because he wasn't there day two. This man's not even had a press conference in what 2 months, and he has no plans on going to see what's happening at the border because he created it. Then they have to get a shot of him standing there with what, kids in cages. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. Just again, it is nuts. But I also want to reiterate that all the things we've learned in the last 3 years, just remember that the things that the media is covering are usually the things they're trying to distract you with. The things they're not covering are usually the things that concern me. You know, all the stuff going on, and then how he embarrassed us with freaking China, and that was like laughed in our face. Got Putin saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to talk to you unless we do it live," because they know. What is it now? We've got Kim Jong Un, Putin, and Xi Jinping from China, all basically laughing in our face.
Well, it's not even Kim Jong Un; it's his sister now.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, it's a return to 44's policies before the days of Donald John Trump, where the old mantra of leading from behind was kind of their uh, modus operandi, if you will. And of course, we know that the empty suit known as Biden, he's incapable of doing anything without help. You see his handler, Kamala Harris, with him at all times. We really don't know necessarily who the focal point is that is actually feeding him. If it's indeed Susan Rice, I see a lot of people citing the fact that it might be this, what the heck's his name? Klein, I think it is. Perhaps behind the scenes, Obama handlers. It could be Valerie Jarrett, any one of those folks in that behind the scenes from the old 44 regime that was prior to Donald Trump. It's hard to say, but bottom line, it's certainly a return to those policies as if to carry on the 16-year plan that many of us became aware of over the course of the last several years. So the time is now to defend the country at all costs. You are seeing some highlights in that out of Texas, certainly. You're seeing legislation proposed down in Texas to where they're looking to finish off the wall, at least on the Texas border, albeit without the federal government. You're hearing Patriots Net going down and helping to defend. I've heard of people like Craig Sawman Sawyer and company heading down there as well. So, again, this is a planned invasion. Period. That's all it is.
I did hear, and I'm not sure that I heard either of you mention it, but they also talked about busing them up north to the northern border.
Oh, yeah, either busing or flying for that matter. But
Oh
about a
man.
month ago, the head of Greyhound buses says you're not getting on our buses unless these guys are tested. Now, whether or not that's actually if that actually flied, or if that guy got a little verbal berating behind the scenes and says, here's some cash behind the scenes from our cronies. Shut up and just do as you're told. Remains to be seen.
I see Susie Z says out in live chat on DLive, government made a deal with a hotel chain to house 1,200 illegal alien families for 6 months, cost 86 million. I did see something in
Yep,
reference to that. And, the question goes then, why aren't we taking care of our vets? Why aren't we taking care of our people?
that's not important.
Oh, we are.
That's
We're
not
feeding them
important.
food that's freaking rotten and disgusting. The National Guard and the amount of people getting sick, the amount of National Guards people that have found metal shavings in their food. I mean, that's bad. But nobody's reporting on that. Nobody's reporting on how the food that they're serving the National
Yeah.
Guard right now is
And
atrocious.
actually, one of those guardsmen died a couple weeks later, and I think they were supposed to investigate whether it had something to do with the food they were eating or not.
Well,
Yeah,
I wonder where they're getting it from. Wonder what's this country
Right.
and the left has done about the treatment of our military. And then remember what happened with that cop whenever he got served that milkshake. I mean, it's like that story gets out whether it's true or not even. And then it gives all these people ideas where, oh, well, this food's going here for those people. Oh well, let's just break a light bulb. Like it's horrifying. But yeah, the food they're feeding these National Guards, I'll look for that story really quick because I used to have it pulled up. It's
see, while
bad.
you're doing that, one of the other things that come out is defiant U.S. soldiers are openly questioning why BLM riots weren't treated like the Capitol insurrection. So, at the end of the day, the men and women in uniform are being fed propaganda from their upper brass. They're being fed a narrative that is completely false, based on the elements and things that took place on January 6th to castigate um, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, everybody as the domestic terrorists. When we know, in fact, what we saw throughout all of last year in all the blue cities, BLM, Antifa, this BS that we saw the clown news networks, MSDNCs, etc., as quote unquote mostly peaceful protests, while behind the cameraman you see fires and the damn towns being burned down, right? We don't need the government to tell us what our eyes already see. But unfortunately, the upper brass are trying to feed this crap to the men and women in uniform, and they're openly questioning this. And the article I saw at Zero Hedge actually showed the slide of BLM and company down at the bottom of all the various groups in that, but very prominent at the top of the slide was the Three Percenter logo, as well as the Oath Keepers, which is exactly what they're being fed.
Yeah, I'll show you the article that I pulled up from that I found. Alfie, shh, hang on. Talk about something else while my dog stops barking because my dad walked in.
Well, and at the same time, the other thing that's going on with that is the media, right? The media is also starting to flip around on this and openly question the Biden administration, if you want to call them that, on their policies. Um, Obviously, being locked out of the border, that is one side of it, but at the same time, who knows whether or not we're going to see them flip, and even if they do, what's going to happen? Are they going to
Yeah,
start to invoke the 25th Amendment in order to try and remove Biden at this point, and basically install Kamala? I
I
mean,
don't know, but that's scary. Here's this article. He's taking him outside. Sorry, guys. It never fails when I'm on air. Either my dad's going to walk in or my dog's going to want attention. So this is talks about National Guard troops defending Capitol reportedly sick after eating raw meat. And it says the National Guard soldiers defending the U.S. Capitol have gotten ill after being fed meat that is almost completely raw, with shaved metal also found in the disgusting meals, according to the whistleblower. An anonymous staff sergeant with Michigan National Guard told WXYZ what that the force has repeatedly complained after more than a dozen troops were sickened by undercooked meat. Yesterday, for instance, there were 74 different meals found with raw beef in them. The sergeant told the station Monday, sharing images of meat that looked completely raw in the middle. Now, this is disgusting. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. They look good from the start and make them sick right here. This is horrifying. This is, look at the outside. They didn't even, you cannot tell me that somebody did not intentionally do this. This isn't even an attempt to cook it. This is literally browned it on the outside and put it on a platter. Look at, remember what I showed y'all the other day about the peach? Look at this stuff. Like, I wish I could, I don't know if I can, I wish I could bring that up. Maybe I can. If it doesn't take forever to load. No, there's just an article about it. But I wanted the images. I hate how this does this because it won't take you. Look at this. Ironically enough, but anyway, you can see that. Look, there's moldy bread. What is this? Hooks? Metal shave? That's not metal shaving to me. That's damn hooks. And then look. I mean, it's disgusting. And this is what we're feeding our military. While, by the way, people do this.
Weird.
I haven't updated Zoom.
There we go.
All
It's gonna
right,
be
we're
one of them
coming back.
days, apparently. Yeah, I got to go in there. No, maybe I can do it remotely.
We're
Look at
good.
the images.
We're
Look at
back.
the images on the other is on the scene though. Hang on a second. Let me try and change that remotely.
Right.
See if I can do it. But yeah, oh my God, look at this.
YouTube is buffering too.
Yeah, I'm back though. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Everything's up but
Okay.
Twitch.
Okay.
Look at the screen. Look what it's done with our Zoom. That's weird. Okay, but anyway, so you saw my orange image.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, the gross food.
I need to go in there and try
Right,
fix my production thing. You keep talking. I'm going to go try and fix this other end.
Hey, I got a couple, it's a little bit off topic, but I just got a couple of things that kind of some breaking news. Just the News put out that Trump will return to social media on his new platform.
Yep, I saw
and that
that.
it's coming out in 2 to 3 months. So that's kind of interesting.
Trumper.
Amidst the Boy Scout, this is also from Just the News, amidst the Boy Scout bankruptcy, full extent of sex abuse scandals comes to light. 95,000 people have filed sex abuse claims, at least a dozen.
Wow.
95,000.
If you remember, once upon a time we were told that we're going to have a tough time knowing who to trust in places and people of higher up positions. And so we're seeing that manifest. And I hear a lot of people, even after all the Q stuff has not, played out to what people thought the expectations were, that nothing's happening. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. Based on one, what you're seeing there. Yes, as bad as it looks, perhaps this is what the precipice means that we had to be taken to show what the invasion of this country is going to look like. Socialist manifesto doctrines and things of that nature allowed to play out for all to see. Yes, it's troubling. Yes, it's a pain to deal with. We're having to talk about it. But at the same time, you look at what I just covered last night, even by way of the Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein stuff. Yes, they have got a new group of bandicoots and that are going to be part of Biden's administration, but is it going to be allowed to continue? I don't know. But for the moment, it is. There's nothing that has shut down the Epstein trial. There's nothing that has shut down the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. And just like I talked about last night, Doug Band, obviously a Clinton operative. And of course, he flipped here. Whether it was recently, I don't know, but at least the testimony has come forth that suggests that he had information to share, especially about Clinton and his partaking of going down to Little St. James. Now, of course, we probably need to start getting the whole hashtag going on social media that Doug Band didn't kill himself, because one would expect that, after that has gone through, that, it probably stands to reason that, it's Clinton Arkanside is probably about to take place, just based on what we've seen historically.
Right.
Because it's entirely possible to commit suicide with 2 to the back of the head.
Right.
Okay, guys, we should be fine now. If you're having issues on like D Live, just refresh the video. The screen should be fixed. And you guys did say y'all saw the images I posted with the hamburger, the orange, the moldy meat, the meat shavings, all that, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, the last thing I'll say on that story, and sorry about the weirdness there, but like one of the people in the military said that they were shocked and appalled at the food that they were being served here in America, their home country, where they'd been served overseas and had never been fed food like this, even with their MREs. But it said a typical breakfast was maybe a Danish and some sort of juice, while at times it was clearly a dinner roll and a Sunny D. They served them, I'm gonna say this again, a dinner roll and a Sunny D for breakfast. So, yeah, while we're again flooding in the border with a bunch of people that they're giving checks to, we got our military eating a dinner roll and some Sunny D for breakfast, and moldy bread and rotted meat. So, okay, moving on, but we're all fixed production wise. I think I got to hammer it out.
All right. Well, real quick, I got an opportunity here. Let me bring this article up. Maybe you guys have seen this, but chilling California police reform bill may ban Christians from law enforcement. Obviously, since last year, our police have been under assault from various mayors and sanctuary cities, the blue cities where they have allowed BLM and Antifa to run rampant. And by the way, Mockingbird Media, what's going on in Portland? How long are we going to go before we actually report anything out of Portland and what's been going on there for better than a year now? Nonetheless, this rolls on, says police officers have a duty to protect all citizens, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, or any other identity. Governments have an interest in preventing violent criminals and members of the Ku Klux Klan from joining police forces. Yet, a new bill supposedly aimed at preventing gang members from joining law enforcement could prevent conservative Christians from taking the blue or result in their firing. California Assembly Bill 655 would require police departments to investigate whether or not potential cops had engaged in memberships in hate groups, participation in hate group activities, or public expressions of hate. It would make such activities grounds for termination. And when Americans think of a hate group, many minds would conjure up a domestic terrorist group motivated by racial animus, like the Ku Klux Klan. Yet some transgender activists and organizations like the old great SPLC, just like what we deal with YouTube behind the scenes, use the term hate group as an epithet, branding mainstream conservative and Christian groups as hate groups because they advocate against same-sex marriage or transgender activism. So, thinking back to what I just got done saying about how our military folks, our men in uniform, are being brainwashed, indoctrinated to believe that the Oath Keepers, Three Percenters, and whatnot are the quote-unquote domestic terrorists. You're seeing the very same thing happen via the SPLC, and I would venture to say that the ADL is probably another one behind the scenes working to that end as well, to castigate anything to do with righteousness and right think as bad. And it goes right in tow with exactly what they want to do to destroy any level of police work and that around this country, defund the police and everything else.
Well, you're bringing up churches, and I'm going to bring up this article I brought up for today. The dominoes are falling. Minnesota Governor Walz rescinds all occupancy requirements on churches following a lawsuit. So the Democratic Minnesota Governor Walz rescinded occupancy requirements on state's houses of worship earlier this week following a lawsuit from the Thomas More Society and voter initiatives to recall him. Walz Executive Order 21-11, which was approved on March 15, 2021, lifted the remaining restrictions on church attendance in Minnesota, which had capped occupancy at 50%. The restrictions remain in effect for bars and restaurants. The dominoes are falling in favor of abolishing the state's limitations on church attendance. Thomas More Society Special Counsel Eric Cardell said in a statement to the Daily Wire, Minnesota has abolished its church attendance limitations. Next, our plan is to similarly abolish all other states' remaining limitations on church attendance, which have been occurring nationwide. So it's regarding attendance limits violated their religious liberties. The church involvement include Cornerstone Church of Alexandria, Minnesota, and a couple more. But the point I bring this up to say that that the Constitution separation between church and state, and then what all these governors, these power hungry governors and mayors have been trying to do is it's like they got a little bit of power and they think, oh, this is the time we get to tell everybody what they can and cannot do. And there wasn't enough people pushing back. I'm not an attorney. I don't know how many of you guys out there are attorneys, but I did find it amazing why that the conservative side is full of a bunch of attorneys, and then nobody's really sending any lawsuits down. Like, for instance, there's one attorney that's filed a lawsuit in Texas against these emergency, I think, is it the fire department or something? Maybe it was a company. I can't remember exactly the story, but I do know that she filed a suit against them, saying that they cannot demand that their employees take a vaccination that's experimental. And yes, this vaccine is experimental. And anybody that doesn't tell you that is lying to you. These things didn't even go through the animal trials. These are experimental drugs, period. And she said that she found it shocking that she was, after all this time this year, she's the first attorney that she knows of that's filed a suit like this, pushing back about these demands they take vaccines. People got to stop walking in lockstep and just putting their heads in the sand and going, oh, well, it's crazy. Well, I can't believe they're doing this. And then watch their brother or sister or husband or wife get fired from their job or be demanded to take a vaccine and not do anything about it. The issue is how much money you have to have in order to file a lawsuit is ridiculous, and people don't have that kind of money. But there are organizations that are supposed to represent you pro bono if you have a good legal case, just like the Social Security Department does. If you file a Social Security lawsuit, and if you didn't know this, you don't have to come up with any kind of money. They either take the case whether they think they can win it or not, and then they take 30% of whatever you win, back pay or whatever. That's how that works. So there needs to be more people, more conservatives, more right-leaning people out there, or even libertarians that will take up cases and push back on this stuff and file lawsuits. Because if we don't, then it's just going to continue to happen.
Well, let me ask you this. What is the point?
I just showed you an article of a point.
No. Knowing what we saw play out with all the voter fraud, do you honestly believe at this point we have a system of justice in this country?
Listen, I know your argument. We've had this conversation for 2 years, but what I just showed you is proof that if you push back and get good representation, that they will back down. I'm not saying in all cases. I don't ever speak in general brushstrokes here. I don't ever do it, and I won't start now. But I'm saying if you don't challenge them, if you just throw up your hand and say, well, the judicial system's screwed anyway, why even bother to try? Then they're just going to keep moving the goalpost.
No,
it's just going to continue happening.
I'm not saying that there aren't remedies at law. What I am saying is that our system of justice through the courts, our Admiralty Maritime courts, is over. Those are done. That was proven through the November 2020 election. You're not going to get a fair shake if you get a lawyer or an attorney or otherwise. That's just the truth of the matter. They don't have our interests in mind. It's not the truth,
because I just showcased you where their Minnesota governor's rescinding his order because he was being sued. It can happen. I can't take this defeatist attitude that there's no point in doing it because you're never going to win.
I didn't say that. I said you still have remedies at law. What I'm saying is that based on what we saw from the election time, the voter fraud, I don't personally believe we have a system of justice in this country, nor do we have any judges, if you want to call them that, willing to stand up for truth and justice at this point in time. Now, will they take a different stance, perhaps, on COVID and going against government overreach on a state-by-state cases? Maybe. I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue that, but there are other remedies in that can be pursued. But
do you think they only targeted certain states to do that in, Breaking?
Why do I think they targeted only certain states? Because they knew at the end of the day that they have the control by those various blue states to do that. That's why you saw the Newsoms, the Wolfs, the Murphys, the Whitmers, the Cuomos, and the like all take the actions that they did. And every single one of them throughout last year that followed these policies of putting old folks and whatnot and long-term care facilities sick for them to spread and ultimately take out even more should all be tried. Absolutely should.
I think that's my point, though, is that they knew that they would try to get away with it in these certain states because they were being governed by people that were being easily manipulated. While in turn, you have other states that don't walk in lockstep like that, where they're. I think that if you have the opportunity, you should push back. The state of Tennessee just passes a bill to allow permitless carry of handguns. Don't even need a permit. We didn't need a permit before if it was open. Now we just passed a law saying you can just carry the damn thing. That's in response to these bills that they're pushing that you've talked about on air, where it's again trying to take people's Second Amendment rights away.
Yeah, there is a healthy 10th Amendment exercise going on right now, certainly. You're seeing, at least from a federal level, all the executive orders, the proclamations, and all the BS that come through by decree from the executive department. And of course, it's overreach, as we all know. The states are pushing back through the attorney generals and attorneys general from the various states. We're seeing that for the transgender agenda in various states, interjecting men into women's sports and calling them transgender, whatever. You're seeing that through the monetary system. You're seeing, just like I reported here a couple weeks ago, a lot of states are standing up and recognizing gold and silver as money in their respective states because they know the gig is up with the fiat currency and the Federal Reserve. At the same time, you're seeing pushback on the Second Amendment. We talked about various counties. You've heard me talk about this, about various counties basically proclaiming that they are Second Amendment sanctuary counties. If the states and various cities can decree themselves as sanctuary cities for illegals, then there's nothing to say that a county can't do this very same thing on a Second Amendment basis. And the sheriff, obviously being the highest elected official in the various counties, have the authority to do so and arrest any federal person trying to mandate or carry out any orders that are contrary to the Second Amendment.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think that you're just misunderstanding what I'm trying to convey here. And everything you just said, what I just highlighted with what's going on in Minnesota, which what I just carried over and showed you in Tennessee. I think that maybe you don't, maybe it's just me or how it comes across. It's sometimes when I like bring it up, hey, pushing back and going after these people and getting an attorney or having someone represent you pro bono to push back. And then I get back from you as, well, why bother? The judicial system's already so screwed up. We have no judicial system. It's broken. We have no. So like, to me, I hear when you say that, it's like, why bother even trying? Because you're never going to win anyway.
No,
which
that's
I don't
not
agree
what I
with.
said. I said you have remedies at law. And in a case of the Second Amendment, for example, like here in the last few weeks, you got the county down in Missouri, for example, the sheriff standing up and saying, all right, we're going to just do this. That's not done in a court. That's by decree and edict by the sheriff. It says, go ahead and try, guys from the feds. Come in here and try and institute your gun bans or whatever. That doesn't have to go through a court. That's just pure 10th Amendment standing up for one's rights. So, yes, we do have remedies, folks. We have plenty of remedies. Not everything has to go through the courts, which we inherently believe to be corrupt at this point, like every other institution.
Well, I think, again, I'll stress this again, and I really mean this. And I please, I mean this because it's coming up. If we don't have patriots that run for office, I don't care if it's your state alderman, your commissioner, I don't care what it is. Maybe get to the mayor part. Heck, run for senator, you know that people like us will support you. You know that our audiences is from all over the world, and we were a smaller one. But I do talk to these other people with bigger channels. We'll get you on. We'll get you highlighted. We'll get you supported. But we've got to get people in office that won't be bought off or sell out to lobbyists or whatever. Because it's like what they've grown. The left has grown as a cancer inside of our educational systems, inside of these critical race theory deals that we've got going on now, inside of these big corporations that are selling out like Coca-Cola and telling you to be less white. You got to do the same thing. You got to play that game. Because listen, the people have been taking the high road for way too long. They don't recognize the high road. And if your opponent does not recognize the high road, then you're going to be over there playing by yourself. So unless we get people like I don't care if it's your daughter. I don't care if it's a moderate liberal is better than somebody that's pushing critical race theory and hate your own country. And if you don't think that these big corporations are recognizing that, if you don't think places like YouTube and Twitter are recognizing what they've created, what they've done, because now Orange Man Bad's out of the office and now they're coming for their inside circle. Now they're coming for them. And they're like, holy shit, we built a monster. That's why you see DLive monetizing these people back. That's why you see YouTube starting to monetize these right-leaning channels. They all know it because at heart they're capitalists, period. They care about their money. And they've created a monster to where you can't even have a different right. These people have kids. These people like Susan Wojcicki have nieces and children and shit. They have children. And you want to think that she don't think of, like, say, her son and daughter decide that they want to marry someone that's of the opposite sex, they'll be labeled as transphobic because they wouldn't even entertain the fact of dating a transgender person. That doesn't scare them, and they think, holy shit, we've created a monster. Because that's what it's become to. That if you are a straight person, if you don't even entertain the fact of dating someone that's transgender, then you're transphobic. That's the ridiculousness this country has become. And I guarantee you they're scared too. Because that's nuts. And then these are the same people that'll preach to you about climate change that'll get on their jet-leered planes and their 74-foot freaking yachts and go teeter out in the middle of some kind of a pristine ocean somewhere and plop out all their damn boat fuel into the water. And they'll be like, oh, but climate change.
Well, real quick, let me circle back to the old governors here. It's not just the Cuomos and Whitmers and that, but now there's also a campaign. Virginia House candidate calls for Ralph Northam's arrest following Cuomo-like nursing home revelations as well. So my guess is we're probably going to see a lot more of this, and people need to rally behind the folks that are pushing for this, whether it be in your respective state houses or whatever. But Jerome Bell, a candidate for U.S. House running in Virginia, has publicly called for the arrest of Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, old blackface, the Democrat who made national headlines for his remarks related to post-birth abortions and for his admission of wearing either Ku Klux Klan robes or blackface in his medical school yearbook. Northam, like Cuomo, needs to resign, be arrested, and face murder charges, said Bell, sharing an article about Northam's nursing home scandal. I said this was happening months ago. And of course, says Virginia's Rising Action, a right-wing watchdog organization, the reports on leftist politicians and groups explains that Governor Ralph Northam is joining the ranks of Governors Andrew Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer as he faces his own nursing home scandal. The organization then links to a report by the AARP, which reveals that Virginia unfortunately boasts the second highest COVID-19 nursing home death rate in the country, well ahead of New York and Michigan. While COVID-19 is proven to be an extremely survivable virus, the elderly are the most likely to suffer severe and fatal health complications. So again, highlighting the fact that these folks need to go down. Here's more proof of that. And of course, just like Cuomo saying, well, we were following the policy out of the White House. We knew from the days of Q posting. That was not the case. They did their own deal. And of course, it's since been revealed with all the scandal crap coming out against Cuomo that they hid the actual figures behind the scenes because they knew what they were doing behind the scenes. And back to your point on the quote-unquote monster that has been created, we got this out of the Epoch Times. Federal judge alleges Dems are close to controlling all major news outlets. And it's not just the major news outlets, the ABCs, NBCs, all of the mockingbird media, as it were. But as you cite, this also goes into big tech as well. Federal judge this week said that the Dem Party is close to controlling the press as he detailed what he describes as shocking bias against Republicans. Boy, if you're just now learning that, then you must be a fairly dimly lit bulb. I don't know. D.C. Circuit Court Judge Lawrence Silberman outlined his opposition to the Supreme Court's key decision in 1964 in New York Times versus Sullivan, which has since protected many media outlets from lawsuits. Silberman, a Reagan appointee, wrote that the ruling is a threat to American democracy and must be overturned. The increased power of the press is so dangerous today because we are very close to one-party control of these institutions. Our court was once concerned about the institutional consolidation of the press leading to a bland and homogeneous marketplace of ideas. It turns out that ideological consolidation of the press, helped along by economic consolidation, is a far greater threat, he continued. And it goes on to say, it says, although the bias against the Republican Party, not just controversial individuals, is rather shocking today, this is not new. It is a long-term secular trend going back to at least the 70s. I do not mean to defend or criticize the behavior of any particular politician. Two of the three most influential papers, at least historically, the New York Times and the Washington Compost, are virtually Dem Party broadsheets, and the news section of the Wall Street Journal leans in the same direction. The orientation of these three papers is followed by the Associated Press and most large papers across the country, such as the LA Times, Miami Herald, and Boston Globe. Nearly all television networks and cable is a Dem Party trumpet. Even the government-supported NPR radio follows along. News outlets mentioned didn't return requests for comment. Judge also expressed concerns about the influence that big tech wields over how news is distributed, referencing how Twitter limited the spread of a New York Post article about Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey told lawmakers that what happened was a mistake. Silverman added that there are a few notable exceptions to the outlets he mentioned. Fox News, New York Post, and the Journal's editorial page should be sobering for those concerned about news bias that these institutions are controlled by a single man and his son. Will a lone holdout remain in what is otherwise a frighteningly orthodox media culture? After all, there are serious effects to muzzle Fox News. And although upstart, mainly online conservative networks have emerged in recent years, their visibility has been decidedly curtailed by social media, either by direct bans or content-based censorship, he wrote. So I think you get the idea there. The bottom line is that the Dem Party has more or less done exactly what they set out to do: take control over all forms of media, social media, control the think tanks and the browbeating groups like the SPLC, like the ADL. They're all working in concert at this point, every single one of them. And then throw on top of that the Confucius Institutes at colleges and everything else on top of that. Here we are.
I'm going to circle back around real quick just to highlight this before we skim over it. And then maybe Sunny has something to say. She's been kind of, we've talked, you have to elbow your way in here, Sunny. Since Trump's back candidate, we just used to, we do a show together. So like we kind of used to this back and forth stuff. You'll just have to most people do be like, hello, I'm over here. Okay, so Trump backed the candidate Julia Letlow wins special election. So this is just to say that she won. Her husband unfortunately passed away, and she won. Like she doesn't even have to do a runoff because she won 62% of the vote, meaning that she will not have to do a runoff election. And I'm going to say this: I don't give it, and I don't care if it's unpopular or not. I'll get into that towards the end of the show. But even to me, I'm going to tell you right now: even if President Trump is endorsing these people, or a Republican is endorsing these people, y'all need to go look into them. Like, make sure that they've been consistent. Make sure that they're not going to be, a Kavanaugh or some of these people. Like, look at Marsha Blackburn here in Tennessee. It was all like, oh, Trump endorsed. And then what'd she do on his impeachment? I'm sorry. But at this point, no, we need to look into them ourselves. I don't give a shit who tells us we need to go out there and rah, rah, rah. There you go. Go ahead, Sonny. Got anything?
Okay, so I do have one thing. So did you all hear about Kylie Jenner's makeup artist? I know. Let's see. So there was
didn't hit my radar.
Okay, it's trending. So I had, I don't care much about them, but it was trending, and I thought, well, I wonder why it's trending. Well, wait. So Kylie Jenner's makeup artist got into a car accident and needed $60,000 for emergency brain surgery, and she asked her friends to donate. Yep. And then only donated $5,000 when she's literally a billionaire. The wrong people have money, is this tweet. But it just goes to show you that these people are not for us. They live for themselves. I mean, she has all that money and she is throwing it out to her fans to do a GoFundMe for this guy they don't know. He's a makeup artist.
Well,
Yeah,
It's
again, it highlights it. You are dead straight on the fact that they are a bunch of freaking hypocrites. We just watched last week Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire came from nothing. She was a poor little kid raised by her grandparents here in Nashville, I believe it was, came from nothing. And now she's a billionaire, and now she talks shit about her own country that made her that, sitting across from a prince and his wife at their $14 million mansion in California talking about oppression. I totally understand where
exactly.
you're coming from.
well,
Exactly.
speaking of folks in that who care nothing about our country, I mean, can you believe the callousness of all these spring breakers down in Miami Beach? I mean, dear God, do they not realize that we're in the middle of a doggone pandemic here? How selfish of them. I mean, my God.
Well, do you think that's a cover story about the COVID though? Do you think that there's more going on
I,
to
I,
the
I
I
say
mean,
that facetiously.
okay, because they're like, it sounds like they're fighting, they're taking their fight from like they're leaving restaurants and not paying, they're partying in the streets, they're taking their fights to the
Yeah,
airports.
I, I,
Do
I
you
can't
think
say.
do you think it's a little bit of a I almost feel like it's a poke back at Governor DeSantis and Florida being open and things are going really good for Florida.
Well, and again, what we have to remember is DeSantis obviously has a state open. Let's say we've also seen Texas do the same thing, but yet we're getting reports out of both places, takedowns of folks going into institutions for not wearing masks. So, really, how open are we? You got to remember a lot of these big cities are still Democrat controlled, blue havens and whatnot. Miami is no different. The same as said here. For nearly a week, tens of thousands of people flocked to spring break in Miami as many overlook the mayor's COVID warnings. On Saturday night, Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber declared a state of emergency and enforced a new curfew as spring break crowds overwhelmed local law enforcement. Too many revelers. Too many are coming, really, without the intention of following the rules, and the result has been a level of chaos and disorder that is just something more than we can endure, Gelber told the Clown News. And of course, as inbound traffic to Miami Beach was insane on Saturday afternoon. Dear God, the calamity of it all. Even Transportation Secretary Administration reported over 1.4 million Americans flew on Friday and Saturday, the most screened air passengers since before the pandemic began, with tens of thousands said to have arrived at Miami International Airport and other warm destinations. The Miami Beach Police Department arrested at least a dozen people following the 8 p.m. Saturday night curfew, as many disregarded the rules. They'll be put in place for the next 72 hours. On Saturday night, Gilbert said parts of Miami Beach felt like a rock concert, wall to wall people over blocks and blocks. Oh, the insanity of it all. Gilbert said throughout the week the situation worsened each day, and the virus pandemic made things even more challenging. Where are all the masks? Where's the social
Oh,
distancing? They cried. Brooke Schaefer, here's Miami Beach tonight, 10 minutes after new 8 p.m. citywide curfew. Whoops.
that's not playing. The audio's not.
Yeah, looks like they're not abiding in no curfew. Curfew? We don't need no stinking curfew.
I'm gonna point out a slight bit of hypocrisy in all this. So we've got people, the mayor of Miami, calling it a state of emergency because crowds are flocking to Miami for spring break. But we got people, thousands and hundreds, tens of thousands of people down at the southern border coming with unaccompanied minors and shit. And we don't. Well, that's not a state of emergency. But people on
No,
spring
no.
break is a state of emergency.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
I don't give a
priorities,
I
shit,
folks.
really
Florida.
think it's more
Listen,
than that. Don't I really okay, so what I'm looking at is a thread on
uh,
Twitter and this guy says he's a Leo and he's like, I know this is crazy talk, but the Leo in me is starting to detect a pattern. And he shows all these videos, these fights, in the airport, and then these fights on the street. It's like, I don't know. I still feel like some of that is on purpose to rile things up and to,
We've
you
had
know,
a
like,
cancel culture for 3 years. I mean, it's not shocking that there's a Democratic mayor that is trying to make this political.
they're trashing restaurants. They're, yeah, over politicization of police work. The NAACP called Miami Beach PD racist last year. I, this is, and the
Spit it
fact that
out.
the news is covering it as COVID,
Of course they are.
I think it's racial stuff, and they don't want to call it that. They want
Are
to
you
call it
trying to say
COVID.
that they're sending Antifa and Black Lives Matter down there to start riots? Is that what you're trying to put out? I mean, like, I'm trying to, don't make me sift through it. Just say it.
Read
Yes.
between the
Okay. Yes.
lines.
Yes. Something to that effect. I'm not sure, but that's what comes up. Yes.
Well, let's face
Yeah,
it.
but it's not, there's that would not, that's not shocking, I don't think, to anybody here watching us or us up here. I mean,
Well, it's
again, all you have to do is track them on Twitter to watch how they'll freaking do that shit on Twitter. Well, they'll lock eyes on one person and say, it's our time to cancel the woman at Teen Vogue. Everybody, mission go. And that's why I've got articles pulled up today to talk about what they do and how they do it and how they organize. And listen, we're full of a bunch of very talented people here. But the lack of our ability to, like, what I think we should do, and listen, it's why I turned my Twitter back on, and it wasn't easy because I was ticked off or whatever. But you got to be able to see what they're doing. I mean, you're talking about sometimes less than 50 people organizing together to go call a company to say this is just so racially insensitive. And then you see something like Coca-Cola do what they've done or Comcast do what they've done. You don't think there's 50 of us that can be like, listen, woke, you go broke. Why the hell did you take Aunt Jemima off the syrup? I'm sure family wasn't happy about it. That was her legacy. You know how many
Absolutely. And you
white
can
people
tell
would
that
love to be
I'm still struggling with that. I'm still struggling with the narratives. I'm still struggling with what I call programming. It is hard for me to say those words because there's this thing that comes up like, I don't want to say that.
Well, if you can't say it though, Sonny, imagine somebody that's on the left waking up. We have to say it because it's
true.
obvious. I mean, it's obvious that you want to tell me about Miami having issues about parties? Miami is like the gay lesbian mecca of Florida. I wonder how they might have stirred up any kind of Antifa members in Miami. I don't know. But they also better recognize they got a big Cuban population down there too, and those people don't freaking play. You go bashing up their storefront, so you might have a bigger problem because this ain't Call of Duty, folks. When you start beating up somebody's kid or their wife or bashing out their business windows, that's my fear.
Well, and
That
was one of the videos is that there were people, and I don't know what their race was, but they were, he robbed them and ran, and the waiters chased him down and tackled him in the streets and brought him back to the restaurant. He got up, escaped, and they tackled him again and dragged him back to the restaurant.
Well, you know what this channel says about that? Good for that dude. Good for them freaking waiters. Because that's my number one, and I've said it 100 times, is what they do, and I brought it up to breaking earlier, is look where they're focusing their shit on. They go to these cities and these states where they have Democratic mayors and Democratic governors that say, oh, y'all just come in here and do all your shit. We won't stick the cops on you. They're all paid off anyway. What's going to happen is they're going to embolden all these 20-year-olds to think that's somehow how the rest of the world works. Then they're going to come down here to a small town like I live, or a small town probably like y'all live, and they're going to wake up and realize, hell to the no. You come down here and bash up freaking our little drive-in restaurant down here that's been working for 40 years, and you're going to have hell to pay. You got a bunch of rednecks in 4 drives running you out of town like they did in freaking Murfreesboro when they went down there and tried to pull that shit down there. Literally, you had Antifa members like, oh my God, somebody's in 4-wheel drive chasing me out of town. Well, no shit, Sherlock, because this ain't San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the fear, is that they're amping these people up to think that it's going to be acceptable and the rest like America's one big dang, Antifa zone. And that's just not how it is. Again, that's why I think you see YouTube, Twitter, and all these people, they're never going to admit it. But if you look and see who's monetized now, if you look and see the stuff that they're not silencing anymore and the stuff they're letting out, they know that they've got to help put it into it. And they're never going to admit it because they don't want to be canceled. But that's why they're allowing people like us to have voices, is because it's gotten out of hand. And now they're coming for them.
Well, I have no problem letting them cancel themselves, because at the end of the day, the left will eat themselves. And it's part of the whole Sun Tzu strategy. Never get in the way of the enemy while it's in the process of destroying itself. If these folks didn't have our interests in mind from the start, let them fail. Yes, we're going to use these platforms as we see fit now while we have the ability, until something new and better comes along and we obsolete their asses. If they didn't have our interests in mind from the start, I have no problem letting them fail. YouTube, see ya. You go by way of MySpace, frankly. I don't care. Google, Facebook, Twitter, see ya. Don't let the door hit you.
Mm-hmm. I know. So listen, I know your frustration, but Sonny, you got to start like saying it. Look, this story right here makes me think of them setting this stuff up to be, a protesting mess. Like
Mhm.
this looks staged or whatever. Don't use the FF word, whatever. But we've seen it happen enough times to know that it's not, you're not pulling something out of your ass there. Like it's happened. It's happened where you got Media Matters or open societies, put their eyes on one target, and now you've got a bunch of 20-year-olds and sometimes damn 50-year-olds. It's pretty damn disgusting. That like, oh my God, did you see what we did? We got Kevin Hart canceled off of being able to host the Grammys. Woo, high five. Like it's become a sick game to these people.
And
Like
that's why I
they're
like Twitter too, because I don't believe everything I read on Twitter, but I do try to follow different people. And, like sometimes they put into words what I can't put into words. They pull it all together and put it into words. And I'd rather read what they say because I can't get my words to say that. So I do like Twitter for those reasons of other people's opinions, and that they can take so many points and put them into one and you go, wow, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking or feeling. Right. That too. Yes. How long have we heard that? My body, my choice. Well, what about the mask? Why can't the mask be my body, my choice?
I've been saying it for I don't know how long, breaking. I've been saying the my body, my choice line forever, because it's again pointing out the hypocrisy. It is that what was that? Solinsky, or was that it? Breaking probably knows where it says
Paul
like
Linsky.
how you get people, how you can control society is to get them to hold two opposing things in their mind, that like you say one thing one minute, and then what you say, this is how I feel, this is my moral grounding, this is what I believe, and then the next sentence that comes out of your mouth completely trumps everything you said the first sentence, completely contradicts it, and you sit there and think that, oh, I'm righteous, there's nothing wrong with what I just said. Like it's like, again, them pulling critical thinking, and I encourage all of you that have children to test this. If they have pulled critical thinking out of these schools, you should demand they put it back in. And I have a conversation with Michelle Lentz about this, because she's actually an activist that tries to actually impact what's being taught to our children, based in Minnesota. So that's a serious battleground. But like, if there's a reason they pulled critical thinking out. It was the best course I took in college out of anything I took, was my course on critical thinking. So much so, I just ordered a book 2 months ago on it again, because I looked at my college and they had removed it and they only offer it to nurses. Why do you think they would want to remove critical thinking out of our young people's minds?
I have to say this too. I appreciate you guys, letting me come on, because I think sometimes on the platforms or even in the chat, sometimes it feels like there's pushback. Not now, but at times there's been pushback, and it's like, but people, when people continue to wake up, we need to be able to talk to them, and we need to be able to sympathize, empathize, and help them understand, because they have been programmed. They have been told this stuff over and over again. And when they start to see the light, you can get in there and try to give them some truth. And, it'll be helpful for you and me and everyone else, because we do need to take things back. But that's at a level we all can, do. I can't be a politician. I'm not somebody who can, my memory is
I
faulty.
wouldn't I wouldn't recommend anybody get into politics. Now, what I would recommend is people become statesmen. That's a totally different deal, Because if you go back to the founding of the country, we didn't have politicians when we first started this country. We had statesmen. They were in and of and for the people. They worked alongside the people they represented, and they treated the government as a part-time job. That is exactly what we need to get back to. We don't need these bloodsuckers, politics. Look at the definition of the words if you take it back to the root of the words.
Let me.
Well,
Well,
it's-
before we
it's-
get on,
It's true.
before we
I
get on the
know it's true.
politician, before we get on the politician thing, I want to address something Sonny said initially about the dogma, about the pushing back, about not being able to hear opposing opinions. Listen, I know you guys out there that listen to us go to other channels, and I don't care. Listen, I've told you since the beginning of the start of this one, I don't care who's putting out the information as long as you're getting it. It doesn't matter to me. But this channel was created because, and I've said this for a year, because I had saw that what was happening is that all the things that we read about the left doing, where look, they won't let a certain person speak and they're shouting them down, or I would go into chat rooms and watch somebody come on with a different opinion, and just everybody in chat to just attribute these horrible things to these people, like they're evil, oh my god, they're this, they're that. Not in here. And I believe that everybody that watches this show knows that. Maybe some newer people don't. So let me let you know. We had the presidential debate and had Biden people in our room. And listen, my people held their own. They didn't have to go low blows. They didn't have to talk about, oh, you're an idiot or whatever. They just brought the facts. And so if that's the issue I have that has happened even on the right, is that it has become a bubble in a lot of places, where people can't even hear someone that doesn't just go out there and espouse their talking points without attributing something horrible to that person. We're hell to the no up in here. We're not becoming Antifa up in here. We're not becoming Radtifa, whatever you want to call it. Because that's the problem with them, is they cannot listen to someone else's opinion or their viewpoints without being able to sit there and hold their own. They got to take it low, and they got to start calling people a bunch of names. And that's, to me, you're no better than the left when you start doing that shit. Have a debate, push back respectively, but keep it above the belt. I was a Democrat, y'all. For up until 2 weeks before Trump got elected, I thought I was a Democrat because I wasn't into politics. And it took one 28-minute long video to open my eyes and open the floodgates. So if you think I don't believe that people can change their minds or change their opinion, then you're no better than the left. Then you're the ones digging up their tweets from 10 years ago to go cancel them at their new job. So like something's got to change there. There's like what's happened with the Q movement. And I'll go off in this towel right now. Shut up. Because I planned on bringing it up at the end, but to hell with it. What's happened with the Q movement? There are so many people on all ends of the spectrum. What's happened with Q? All the people over here that are still hanging on, they're like, I get it, man. We put 4 years of our life into this stuff. It's hard to look at something and go, was there something wrong, or where's he at, or why did he abandon and whatever, and just be like, hey, it's part of the plan. It's part of the plan. I get it because you need to, because it's hard. You dedicated a lot of your life into it. And there's people, guess what? All the way over on the other end that are pissed off and feel like they were lied to and duped into believing something and then left just hanging in the most important times. And everyone in between, guys, everyone that started is not over here or not over there. There's people confused, people upset, people bashing other people. Everybody has a right to all those different feelings. I've heard them all, by the way. Most of you don't know how many conversations I have out of here with a lot of different people. But they're there, and they have a right to feel that way. You want to know my personal opinion? I pissed the hell off. Because it was like when the shit hit the fan, and we were all like, oh my God, this is going to happen, woohoo. All of a sudden, somebody fucking disappeared on us. Disappeared. Now, I keep that shit to myself because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. I don't want to make y'all, I don't want to hear the, you don't trust the plan, you're this and that, you're all that. Shut up, man. I've been in back here for a long freaking time doing a lot of damn work for nothing. I don't do it for money. I don't get any. And even when I started this channel, 75% of the donations I give out to the people that work on it. Ask them. They're around. But I'm not going to hear all this trash talking because somebody's heartbroken, or trash talking because somebody still has belief in it. But I also don't want to freaking see people come in these rooms and trash everybody else because they're in anywhere on these spectrums. We better have an open mind and an open heart. because that's what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be dogma, bubble loving people. We're supposed to be the kind of people that can listen to other people and say, you know what, I might not agree with you, but I'm not going to say you're a horrible person because I don't. And I'm telling you, I've seen it. I saw it the other day on the soapbox when somebody guest came on and was just saying how they felt about it all. And I watched a freaking chat room start saying how this person was evil, called him evil. So that's just Satanist. And I'm like, what in the hell is happening in these places? Are you listening to yourself? Maybe you need to go watch an Antifa video again and do some reflecting. Because if you cannot sit there and take someone else's opinion without attributing them to being a Satanist, there's something wrong. I'm embarrassed because show me where your red pill went. Because apparently you flushed it down the toilet. So there you go. That's it. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people in here aren't like that again, and I appreciate every one of you that aren't, because most of you get it. Most of you can handle a lot. When me and Dutch went into that channel, and it was people were even typing in caps, and people were like, "Oh my God, you'll be busted cat." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Oh my God, they never make it 5x5." I was like, "You're right. They wouldn't, because people in here can actually, handle hearing somebody with a different opinion without thinking they're a horrible human freaking being." So wake up to what you've been preaching for 3 years about what the left does to people that just disagree with them, and look in the mirror. Look in the mirror when you start doing that shit to somebody, and then wonder why nobody wants to talk to you if they're feeling a little confused about if they voted for Biden and they're like, "Oh my God, this is horrible." See if they'd come to you after you call them evil and a Satanist and all this other stuff. Maybe, especially you walking into church every Sunday doing that shit, you might need to go home and pray. And that's it. I'm sorry, but this stuff has like come to a head for me, and I'm like, come on, people. We're supposed to be the ones that understand. We're supposed to be the ones with open minds. Right? Or am I wrong? So
I
don't
like
stop
what
with
you're
this.
saying. I like what you're saying.
Well, it
I'm
ticks me
glad.
off. I've been in the
just,
background for a long time, and I mean, I've been on the Q train, man, before some people didn't even know what it was. So I get it. I get the broken hearts. I get the people that still believe. I get it all. But what I don't get is when anybody's in that spectrum, the people pile on them and pound on them and make them feel like shit because they're in any left or right of that spectrum of wherever they are in their minds. Give them time to deal with it. Be their support system, not their
because
battering ram.
we do talk about this part of it, the programming, the different things they've shown us and taught us and told us, like Hollywood followed the stars. How many people watched movies over and over again, and they still don't get it about Hollywood and songs? And maybe they're not all bad, but there is an agenda. So many people just don't get it, and it's like bashing them over the head is not going to help any of us. It's like, let's take out the pilot of this airplane because I don't agree with him and he's spouting this stuff. It's like, no, I need you. We got to work this out because you're flying the airplane. I got to get to where I'm going, to my destination. I need you. We got to talk. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe that's not a good analogy, but it's like.
Well, I got to say to Robert Tanner, who says that you sound angry, I'm freaking pissed. I'm freaking pissed because I've been involved in a movement for 3 years with people that are like, "Oh my God, yes, look at the left, cancel this person. Look at the left and how they're bashing somebody for having a different opinion. Look at the left, look at Antifa and them shutting down free speech." And then I go into some place where I've loved and supported and backed and been there and took shit and woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and done all this, and then go watch them do the same damn thing. Same damn thing, and they can't see it. So I'll get over it. I'll chill out, trust me. But I'm also a human being, dude. And it's hard. It's hard to watch people you love and adore and know that they're good people deep down, and they don't even realize what they're doing. They don't even realize they've become the very thing they came in here to stand against. So you know what I mean? It is what it is. Again, though, I've said this from the beginning of this channel that I didn't want nobody in here that was like that. I don't want people in here that can't handle their own, man. You have the facts on your side. You can handle a good debate with someone without taking it low.
I enjoy both of you because you're authentic and you're genuine, Laura, and you're saying you're pissed, and you are. And I like that, you're seeing that aspect of it. And I like Breaking too, because he's so knowledgeable about the Constitution and the laws and, things like that. It's good. We all have gifts and talents and strengths. And, you know, I think it's good. It's a better synergy, and we need that on this side. We don't have to agree on everything, or but try to support each other.
Thank you,
Me
big
and
brother.
breaking butt head, me and breaking butt
Breaking.
heads,
Is that more
No,
programming?
I'm reading the chat
me
here,
and
please,
breaking
all.
me
Team.
and breaking butt heads all the time, and we can still come in here and do a show every day. We don't agree on everything. You want to see somebody have a good debate, then watch what we do. I don't agree with everything he says, but does that mean I think he's a bad person? No.
Let me ground us a little bit, because what you're
With D
speaking,
Live,
yeah,
I know Ray just sent me something. Apparently, D Live slung something in our chat room.
yeah, they probably didn't like you going on your
I don't
rant.
give a listen. If I was worried about what they completely give me a
Well,
break.
let me take us back biblically to what we're speaking of here, and why you have to be grounded throughout this movement in your convictions, and everything else is part of this, and
Okay.
be not swayed. Ephesians 5:5, starting there, says, "Know this for sure that," or actually 5:6, rather, "let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes on the children of disobedience. Therefore don't be partakers with them. For you were once darkness, but are now light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving that what is well pleasing to the Lord. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful deeds of darkness, but rather even reprove them. For the things which are done by them in secret, it is a shame even to speak of. But all things, when they are reproved, are revealed by the light, for everything that reveals is light. Therefore, he says, Awake, you who sleep, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Therefore, watch carefully how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, don't be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Don't be drunken with wine, in which is dissipation, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord, giving thanks always concerning all things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ to God, even the Father, subjecting yourselves to one another in the fear of Christ. And that's the one thing that you speak of, Q, no Q, or otherwise. The one thing that the left has done very well is they know how to get into groups and hold to it, regardless of the fact that they may have ill-conceived notions or wrong think or whatever. If there's any one area where conservatives, those that are in Christ, whatever, don't do very well, and that's get into the old group think, if you will. But one thing that we should be doing is walking circumspectly, and at the same time reproving what we see as evil, for the days are evil, just as described in Ephesians 5 here, and hold to those truths. And so everything that we see playing out here today, the backwardation, the things that relate back to Isaiah 5:20, talking about trading bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter, all those sorts of things, we should reprove. We should stand up. We should speak boldly about those things, and without fear, regardless of what platform we're on.
And I just want to say real quick, because it's having again, guys. I understand why D Live would give us a mature rating. I would want them to. That's okay with me. Like, the little kids don't need to hear some of the stuff that we cover. I'm good with that. I wish more people would do that. I wish freaking CBS would have chose to do that before allowing Cardi B to go out there and do WAP live on stage. I wish they would have gave that a freaking mature tag and not let little kids see that kind of stuff. So if we got a set of bases for that stuff here and we could admit to it here, then that's fine with me. I wish other people would daggum do it, because then no little kid should have saw WAP on stage and that crap going on. Because but there used to be some kind of a line you couldn't cross. on cable news or I'm sorry, the cable channels. And that right there just go to show you there's not anymore. So they want to mature tag's fine with me, guys. We do cover mature stuff on here. I don't mind that. It doesn't matter to me at all. They're freaking not demonetized like YouTube is, everybody. So take that one up. Take that one to the bank. You know what I mean? Like, that's all right with me. I don't mind. I get it. I promise y'all, I get it. It's just a tag. Y'all still here. I'd rather a kid be warned. We cover some pretty heavy stuff, guys.
All right. Well, that being said, we are toward the bottom of the hour where I traditionally go through some of the other news net going on to bring us back around to some of the other stuff going on here today. Let's see. Q research. There we go. Here's some of the notables coming off of the boards, what the Anons are digging on here today. Texas Roadhouse founder and CEO Kent Taylor dies by suicide, age 65, after suffering severe post-COVID symptoms. That's interesting. Michael and Blake Daffy bought Epstein's New York house. Yeah, I think I did see something. I think that guy was, if I remember the story out of Zero Hedge, said he was part of Goldman Sachs. So interesting. PFE.in, Pfizer Inc. at Barclays Global Healthcare Conference, virtual. All right. Into the Storm, a filmmaker's bizarre quest to figure out QAnon. And is that the name of the one for HBO, Soko?
Which
Into
one?
the Storm? Is that the name of the?
I think it is. Yeah, that's
Okay.
That's the one on HBO Max. I was trying to tell Ed Jeffy was posting something out on YouTube.
Okay.
And it is, it's HBO Max is the one with Into the Storm, which, by the way, is not the same as HBO. It's HBO is a stream thing, so you have to actually pay extra for the HBO Max. If you have HBO, you're not going to see it. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So accidentally, I don't know what that refers to, perhaps by tweet somewhere in the Twitter sphere. I don't know. At Pinal CSO, getting a firsthand view of how the border crisis is impacting communities. So perhaps if you head over to that Twitter handle, maybe you'll see some additional coverage where the Mockingbird media and the likes are not picking up. DHS Chief Mayorkas, border crisis underway because Trump dismantled entire immigration system. Here they're passing the buck as usual because, hey, what else are you got to do with failed policies other than blame the previous administration? Let's see, ABC's Radats on border crisis. Biden admin restricting access despite promising transparency. Well, par for the course. What do you expect? Promises made, promises not kept. Jason Miller said Trump still holds a lot of political sway in the GOP. Well, we'll see. YouTube, hidden Russiagate docs expose more misconduct. Evidentiary holes. Ex-investigator speaks out. Interesting. MSNBC analyst claims jokes about Joe Biden's Air Force One fall could inspire assassins. Well, you project weakness. What do you expect? Several White House officials who worked in the Obama administration have returned to public service after gaining massive wealth since leaving. No shocker there. Jason Miller said President Trump will be returning to social media in 2 or 3 months with his own platform that will completely redefine the game and attract tens of millions of new users. Hashtag media buzz. And I think
Skeeter was posted out on YouTube as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Sonny talked about that a little bit ago as well. And on notes from Pfizer answering Barclays Bank analyst questions. Interesting. United Airlines flight forced to make an emergency landing after a report of someone's ear being bit off. Wow.
Oh my.
What? Say that again? Say that again?
United Airlines flight forced to make an emergency landing after a, quote, report of someone's ear being bit off. Not just like take a bite out of it, like, like
a Mike Tyson
Mike Tyson style here, like chew the F off.
That's how crazy it's gotten, though. Like, you know what I mean? But there you go.
All right, back over to ABC's Martha Raddatz to illegal alien who crossed the border. Would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president? I think we already covered that. Of course, the answer to that is no. Holland, Michigan. Hundreds of supporters rallied for Marlena Hackney Saturday. The Michigan restaurateur jailed after refusing to comply with coronavirus orders. And I would expect we ought to see a lot more of that. Last night, briefly, if you saw me over on the soapbox, you saw that, there were plenty of rallies and staged events and things like that going on worldwide yesterday. Various countries net having lots of big time gatherings about the lockdowns, mask wearing, and all of that stuff.
And to all our English and other UK viewers, thank you. Thank you for your rallies. Thank you for your time. Thank you for getting out there and protesting lockdowns. Woo!
There you go.
Okay, sorry, done.
Let's see. That was coronavirus orders. It takes time. Biden DHS secretary blames border crisis on Trump. More of the same. These official fact checkers used by Facebook and Twitter seem a tad biased. You think? Wonder why that is. Arkansas Governor Trump supporters' vaccine hesitancy stems from natural resistance to government. Well, yeah. History has kind of told us that for those of us who actually read history, do it on our own. The government does not ever reform itself. Come on now. Use your head. You can't indoctrinate the whole populace. Sorry. Try again. Reminder, House Dems introduced resolution in attempt to expel Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was this week, and I think that article stated that old Nancy Antoinette decided, nah, we're not going to do that. He doesn't hold the views of the leadership at this point. But hey, nonetheless, they're still going to try and oust somebody who won by a slim margin of 6 votes because they can. A restaurant owner in Michigan was arrested on Friday for defying state CCP virus pandemic restrictions and ignoring a court order, according to the state's attorney general. Some more of the same in that regard. And look, folks, when it comes to your business and you're watching tyranny take place in front of your eyes, chances are you would probably do the same. And I would hope, sincerely hope, that your fellow man and fellow restaurateurs and other business owners would rally behind you, because we are watching tyranny. Why is it perfectly allowable to keep the box stores open and the banksters open while at the same time shutting down the little guys? It's by design, folks. Open up your eyes and see it for what it is. Republican U.S. Rep. Tom Ree is accused of unhooking lobbyist bra during a networking event. Oh, that's a new one. Hadn't seen that story. Babylon Bee, Mexico installs stairs to keep Biden out. Well, apparently Biden can't make it up the stairs, so there we go.
Are you seeing the memes go around? I think Lauren Boebert put one out about keeping her guns upstairs so she didn't have to worry about Biden getting into them.
Yeah. Outstanding. Good old
and
Babylon Bee.
I'm gonna say something real quick about that one, because I've seen some people push back on Twitter and other things about what happened with him, and they wouldn't mock it because he's elderly. It's like elder abuse. I'm gonna say that I believe, now this is just me speaking, and for what I believe is too, I want to say that the people that are mocking what he did by falling up them steps is pointing out the karma. Because if you remember that Biden went on to mock Trump when he went down that ramp really slow, and then we had all the media outlets come out and say about, oh, his health's in question and how there's something wrong with him health wise, and Biden mocked him for it. I'll run down the steps while he crawls down them, and then to have that happen. So I think you saw the memes shoot off and all that happen, and people pointed out the hypocrisy of how he talked about Trump and then went and did something similar. And now, karma comes back to bite him in the butt. That's it.
Yeah. All right, multiple caps. I'm assuming that's in reference to a tweet of some sort. I don't know if that's Scavino or who that pertains to without getting out on the boards, but corrupt Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby and her husband under federal investigation. Well, color me shocked on that one, especially out of Baltimore. Hashtag Q into the storm is about a bitter rivalry, the origins of Q, Anon, and who is behind the operation. Also, free speech and pigs. Series premiere tonight on HBO at 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, so I guess that actually kicks off tonight.
Yeah.
What did we say? That's a 6-part series? Is that true?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't know if that's supposed to take place over subsequent 6 Sundays or if it's all in succession. I have no idea.
I don't know, but I can show you. I've got I think I have the trailer pulled up. So when you get done, I'll
Okay.
do some stuff if I have to, and then I'll show it.
Huge Kung Flu lockdown protests in many countries yesterday, compilation of 14 in this video. Much to the same degree of what I showed last night, if you were with me over on the soapbox briefly out of Zero Hedge. Many clips out of Twitter sphere there. Trump returning to social media with his own platform in 2 to 3 months, according to advisor Jason Miller. Grant given to the University of Pennsylvania's Behavior Change for Good initiative to find ways to manipulate people into taking flu and COVID vaccine. Partners with Walmart to implement strategy. So, folks, be mindful. Don't buy into the hype, all the garbage net, because they will try to use their dirty tricks, deception, and every other thing that they can think of to try and coerce you, market this thing to you that you need it, even though 99.7% chance you will survive. Mission Mind Control, 1979, featuring James Thornwell, MK Ultra. Must be something somebody watched, I don't know. Chloroquine is a potent inhibitor of SARS coronavirus infection and spread. So obviously we know, those of us who have talked about this pretty much ad nauseum for the better part of a year, know that there are plenty of things that we can take outside of their push for vaccinations, gene therapy, whatever it is you want to call it, to combat that and protect your immune system, which you will never hear out of the Mockingbird media. Another interesting set of vids. Okay, federal judge alleges Democrats are close to controlling all major news outlets. We already covered that one here today. Biden's trip upstairs vid, seen that. Hoser 83 down. Not sure which account that is, if that's Twitter Sphere, YouTube, I don't know. Why is this not in Global Notables? Epstein/Pizzagate? Don't know. Wiki Chuck Schumer, Rep. Van Drew are on the precipice. All right. Plane report, Groundhog Day. Former FDA Commissioner, costly social distancing mandate wasn't based on clear science. Well, there's a shock. I think we covered a little bit of that last night as well. The fact that 1 year ago, again, we went through a lot of quotes and things from the Faucis and various pundits and whatnot a year ago stating that masks were of no force in effect, but yet here we are, lockdowns the same like. Q, ask yourself a simple question. Remember that particular post? Vox pillow fight, Matt Iglesias calls out the fake news of the Atlanta sheriff, but then learns his writer was the source. Whoops. Masks and social distancing could last years, leading epidemiologist predicts. Yeah, right. And Mary Magdalene. So there you have it off of the boards this afternoon. What was pulled just prior to broadcast, some of the goings on that the Anons are digging on behind the scenes. So you've got the HBO trailer.
Yeah, I do. I have that one. And I got to say, El Jeffy out there, you're posting that link. That link is to that's for HBO. Again, this documentary is on HBO Max. It's not the same as HBO. It is the streaming thing that they use. I can play all this. By the way, anybody that wants to wonder, because it is a trailer and you can play trailers for things in their entirety. Also, you'll get to see YouTube's tag with the QAnon Wikipedia thing. But this is what is out there being posted. And I will go ahead and say I'm not too thrilled by the very first part of this freaking clip being about what happened at the Capitol being tied to what the Q movement. Right there shows me a little concern, and some of the people they've highlighted in it. I'll leave it at that.
Anybody, I'll show them Q proofs and say, look, talk me out of it. Have you heard of
the Q? The what?
QAnon?
What had started in an online forum had crawled out from behind the screen to the seat of power, all with the help of a single letter.
And we're gonna win big. You just watch.
In 2018, I set out to chart Q's origins.
I wrote the first part of each hymn while I was coming off of psychedelic mushrooms.
You can really find yourself falling down a hole trying to find out who Q is.
I'm pretty sure Q is a spin-off from Star Trek.
Q is whatever you want it to be. Sometimes they'll even think it's me.
I have a question. You're going through a possible list of who Q might be.
That's right. You're on the list.
Well, let's continue then. Dangerous ideas. That's a scary idea.
People conspiracy theorize about things that they think are powerful.
What did we conspire against?
Followers try to discredit reporters because we're required to find out if it's true or not.
It seems like Q's gone mainstream.
They don't care about all the people dying. They're lunatics running the asylum.
You can't expect to get counterpunched.
We have to go. We need to move.
Game over.
This Q thing is just exponential growth.
I think people are worried it's going to be used to radicalize more people.
Do you think that is warranted?
See, we're at HBO Max. HBO Max, again, is different than HBO itself. And I'm going to say it again. I do not, my personal opinion on that, as I do not care that they, first thing off the rip is that they use things from that Capitol, what happened at the Capitol, and then spun it into talking about this movement. And then using Hot Wheels in there. I mean, and then, oh my God, anyway, so, and then the guy that actually went around and shot all this video, his last name is, I believe his first name is Cullen, or last name's Cullen, but he did another documentary about, I think the terms may apply, about Google and stuff. It was really well done. I mean, it highlighted what Google and stuff do by stealing all your information, what the terms and conditions that nobody reads, what they actually say. And so that documentary was really well done. I do think he kept that independent though. And this one was sold to HBO, and then it gave, how that usually works is then that gives them the right to then run it, add in probably whatever they want to, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just me being transparent on my personal thoughts on that. But I'm going to spin real quick through what I have left, and then I'm going to shut up because it's pretty quick. 4 hostile regimes testing Joe Biden during his first month in office. We've got China. Days after president's inauguration, China began asserting its dominance in the South China Sea. Wonder why. Taiwanese defense officials reported that 15 Chinese ships entered its airspace on January 24th, including fighter jets and anti-submarine aircraft. The USS Theodore Roosevelt carrier group entered the South China Sea the same day. Rear Admiral Doug Vermismo said that the vessels would promote freedom of the seas and reassure allies and partners. According to Reuters, China recently passed a law that would permit its Coast Guard to more easily fire upon foreign vessels. The legislation would also allow Chinese forces to board foreign ships in waters claimed by China and destroy other nations' structures in the South China Sea. Yeah, think of that. Iran is beginning to further accelerate its breach of the Obama-Biden nuclear deal. A report from the International Atomic Energy Agency obtained by Reuters revealed that Iran started feeding new centrifuges with uranium hexafluoride on January the 30th, 10 days after Biden entry into Oval Office. The report also indicates that the Islamic Republic is moving forward with plans to install more advanced centrifuges. Iran informed the IAEA on February 1st that it will install 2 enrichment cascades as its Fordo nuclear facility. State Department spokesman Ned Price told reporters that Iran's moves are a challenge we have to tackle immediately. You think? On January 20th, President Biden tapped Obama administration alumnus Robert Malley to serve as the State Department Special Envoy for Iran policy. Malley was an architect of the Iran nuclear deal, which Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu criticized for its lifting of sanctions that bar Iran from arming terror proxies. Russia. January 31st, a Russia bomber flew over an American warship in the Black Sea, a move that United States Navy swiftly condemned. Commander Kyle Raines, spokesman for the Navy Sixth Fleet, told Newsweek that the aircraft passed within 100 yards of the vessel. The interaction lasted 10 minutes. A video posted on Twitter by the Sixth Fleet shows a portion of the incident. In response, President Biden deployed 2 destroyers to the Black Sea, while Russia swiftly moved a missile defense system into Crimea. North Korea. Kim Jong-un celebrated his birthday on January 8th with a military parade that unveiled a new arsenal of weapons, including a nuclear-powered submarine, large warheads, new long-range missiles, and spy satellites. The North Korean leader released a comprehensive list of goals for the nation's military development, including long-range missiles, an unmanned aerial vehicle, hypersonic missiles, and upgraded nuclear warheads. And pause right there and say all this hypersonic missiles and stuff they're doing in the ocean, you wonder what's happening to all these sea creatures that are beaching themselves. Just saying. If Kim sees no shift from the traditional U.S. emphasis emphasis on comprehensive and total nuclear disarmament before any sanctions can be eased. I think he'll simply push ahead with the testing and their activities, foreign policy analyst Anika Panda told the PBC. November 19th, press release from North Korea mocked Biden by claiming that the 78-year-old is in the final stages of dementia. A rabid dog in the U.S. has another fit of spasms, being greedy for power, said the statement. Such rabid dogs are second to none in their craftiness and seeking their own interest. Basically, by the way, there you go. Four, China, Iran, Russia, North Korea. That's what they think of our current president. That's their words, not mine. Education insanity, the top 10 stories of the week. This is, again, what's going on in your school systems. University of Georgia science professor bans students from using Fox News as a source. Law school deans chastise student body as too white. Washington Free Beacon. That was that Case Western Reserve University in Ohio. Georgetown donates $1 million to Radical Reparations Organization. North Carolina's largest school district launches campaign against whiteness in educational spaces. Elite private academy refuses to show race-based curriculum to parents. When you refuse to show what you're teaching your kids to your parents, you might have a problem, folks. Columbia hosts six graduation ceremonies segregated by race, sexuality, income level. I thought that's why we fought the Civil War, was to end segregation, but here we go. Revealed California schools are using COVID relief for teacher bonuses. So while you're starving, teachers unions, there you go. Biracial high school senior who can pass for white receives failing grade after refusing to publicly confess his white dominance. This is going on. I will post this link out there for you guys to look at. Teachers compile lists of parents who question radical curriculum, plot war on them. This is what they were trying to dox all these parents that they thought were going to push against this agenda. Chicago Teachers Union president tells members, don't reveal you got vaccine if it means you return to school. If it means you return to school. Teachers Union president tells members. Oh, so see, they don't want to send these people back into the school systems. These teachers, it's like they want to take off as much time as they can to get paid for it, and then we're all supposed to be like, oh, while the suicide rate and depression jumps up in our school age children, the teachers just want an extended vacation so they can teach in Zoom in their underwear. This is what I'm talking about the woke police. They're policing their own. This is about the Teen Vogue editor. What they got her fired for stuff she posted when she was in flipping high school. This is what I mean by all these platforms, all these social media platforms, all these streaming platforms. I believe they all understand what's going on. They all understand that they thought that they could literally twist off the cap to only let a little bit out, and now the floodgates, and they can't put the lid back on. And I believe they all see it. That's my take on it. That's my take. And all you guys out there in D-Live, I believe that all of us conservatives that have come on this platform, D-Live saw how much you guys supported us. I believe they see how much you donate to us to try and help us out. I believe they probably got their quarterly and wondered what happened to all their income and said, screw this shit. We're going to give these people a platform, because it showed all these woke people that may be on their staffs that you got a choice. You can keep a job, or we can ban all these people, and then we're going to have the place shut down, because you guys impacted their quarterly. Period. For how much you've supported us, because we all came over here because what YouTube was doing. Nobody can tell me that's not the case. Nobody. They had got to see the hit that they did by demonetizing all of us. They had to. Okay, this is this is just more stuff about them going on their own. The tattletale and censorship industry. They're kind of putting these people. They have something called Beat that has arisen over the last several years that can best be described as an unholy mix of junior high hall monitors, tattling, and Stasi-like citizen surveillance. Well, this is where they're organizing. They're all going, oh, let's pile on this person today. And this is this demanding Silicon Valley suppress hyperpartisan sites in favor of mainstream news. The New York Times is a fraud. Corporate news organizations and masquerading as reliable, nonpartisan. Again, this is all coming out, and we knew it was going to come out. I'm going to say this. If you are a fan of Candace and she's launched her first show on the Daily Wire, I'm going to give you my review on it. I was not impressed. I thought it was way too overproduced. It was like they were trying to do a talk show with her. They said about 20, 25 people out in front of her. They did it in these segments. It just looks so overproduced. And there's something about keeping these things grassroots, where you can communicate with us in these chat rooms, where we can get feedback originally from you guys. And it doesn't look like there's just a set of camera people and people with an applause button over them. Clap, clap, clap. And I'm sorry, but that's how it looked to me. And if she just go back to kind of doing what she does, which is interview people in long form, I think she'd be all right. You can give me your opinions on it down below if you want to. That's just how I felt about it. But there we go. Whew, got that out. There's my Spitfire stuff, whatever you call it.
Next.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I got. Oh, I got to put the teacher stuff out there. But y'all, that article, guys, I'm telling you, it's pretty quick. The one on the education insanity. Read the top stories going on. Read them. What's happening in these that's what they're attacking. Look at your education systems. Look at all the way to elementary schools to colleges. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're trying to implement, push through. It's scary. It is scary. Making students stand up and apologize because of the color of their skin. What the hell is going on? I mean, you all know what's going on, but they're I think they're getting the gist of it. I think these people out there that have pushed and pushed and pushed this radicalization it's come home to roost, and they know that it's going to take people like us to push back because their kids are going to be affected by this. They are. Period. Point blank. Their kids are going to be affected, and I don't think they don't want to see what's coming because it's becoming more and more radical. It is. I mean, there's just no way around it. And they can lie to you and mock you and say it's not true, and then read headlines like that and then tell me I'm lying. All right. Anybody got anything else?
Not me.
Well, one more thing, and I haven't publicly disclosed this, but behind the scenes here, I think I had told maybe one or two of you is this. My pastorette here, where I'm located, has got a father who also used to be a pastor, big evangelical, and he's got some friends in that who are apparently down at Mar-a-Lago here in the last couple weeks, staying down there. And as the story goes here that we found out here about a week or so ago, they prayed that they would get an opportunity to see Trump down at Mar-a-Lago. And apparently it came down to about the last day or two they were down there, this now being just maybe a little better than a week or so ago, had a opportunity to actually meet Trump. And they saw him from afar, wherever they were located in Mar-a-Lago, Secret Service around him, et cetera, et cetera. And apparently they called out, "Hey, Trump, we love you," this, that, and the other, just kind of giving him accolades for the job he had done and everything else. And apparently what Trump had told them, he says, "We saw what happened in November. We don't believe the stuff that's going on, this, that, and the other." And I guess Trump's response was, "Keep watching." So that's maybe what we'll close on here today, that keep in mind, folks, through it all, we're watching a movie. Yes, it has real world consequences. Yes, we're seeing this all play out. But at the end of the day, just like what we saw with whether you choose to believe it was some sort of trick photography in that with Biden's hand going through microphones, things of that nature, green screens or otherwise, are we indeed watching a movie at the end of the day?
I think it do. I think a lot of the stuff is distracting. Yeah. I think, is there a bigger picture? Always. We've learned that over the last, almost 4 years at this point. But yeah, that's why it always concerns me of what we see the news covering and what we see, us even being steered to cover. What else is going on that we're not talking about? That's why I quickly brought that up when I said that about the hypersonic missiles and all this other stuff. Where do you think they test that stuff is? Where do you think they test that? Where do you think they test these missiles and stuff and their hypersonic stuff? And then tell me how whales and dolphins and things like that communicate. Tell me how their echolocation would not be affected by hypersonic, testing. And then you see, all you got to do is look up Google mass extinctions, and then look at all the animals that are beaching themselves and stuff. And I don't mean like the normal, something scared and whatever. It's extensive. And then, the Navy admitted to it, I don't know, was it 4 or 5 years ago, that they were doing testings off the coast and linking that to some of these whale beachings and stuff like that. I mean, there comes a time, whenever you're not really concerned about, because again, people lie about us all the time and say we don't care about the environment. Of course we care about the environment, love our animals and love these species. But then you turn around and have the same government that does not seem to care about the lives that they are affecting by the testing that they're doing. These animals rely on that stuff, and then you send some kind of high piercing noise underneath the ocean, and think that they wouldn't drive these animals crazy, and just do everything they can to get away from it enough to try to get out of the one thing they need to survive, which is the water. I went a little off, but there you go. There you go.
I see Maria saying, why do we need a billionaire to save us? We don't necessarily need a billionaire. The good Lord will use whoever he sees fit. He uses imperfect people all throughout the Bible. If you read the New Testament, for example, you know that Paul, who authored a good chunk of the New Testament himself, was a persecutor of Christians, maimed them, killed them, you name it, but came back to write a good chunk of the New Testament. Do we need Trump to do that? No, but he's better than the alternative. And whether or not you choose to believe, at the end of the day, maybe he was selected by the military long before the 2016 election is besides the point. To carry on a mission maybe dating back prior to JFK. All things are going to happen in God's appointed time, period. At the end of the day, it's not going to be because of anything that we do, anything that Trump does. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things that we can do. Yes, and we should be doing. We have got to get back to our roots. The Constitution was and is for a moral people and none other. And we see the ramifications of it not working in the favor of those of us who have let it go this far. If we want to get back to a moral society, we're going to have to take it.
Boom.
And that's all I got to say about that.
That's right. Well, listen, that's what I've said. That's why people can push back against me all the way about politics. I'm going to tell you again, if there's a baseball field and you see a bunch of people playing on it that are cheating, lying, and stealing, you better damn well be prepared to put on your hat and glove and go out there and start playing that game to try and make sure that them people stop cheating and replace all them shitty players with some decent ones. And that's what I mean by people running for office. Get out there and play the game and change it.
Yeah,
we got to change it.
These folks, this is as close to heaven as they're ever going to get. They think that they're going to technologically beat death. They're not. This is the best they're going to get. And if they think that accumulation of riches and things and that buys themselves glory and honor and things of that nature, they're sorely mistaken. As much as we would like to have those things and be righteous in our applications and virtues and everything else, do right by our fellow man and things of that nature, the Bible doesn't say that. We're going to have trouble in this world because we are in this world, but not of this world. So the only thing that can be expected of us is to suffer well. That's it.
Amen to that. Well, and again, that's what I mean by, we're going to make the change. We got to do it. And to that person's point of we don't need a billionaire to save us, look at how much money was raised when somebody put up a GoFundMe for the wall. Unfortunately, I got a list. Listen, guys, I'll be honest here. I got a list over here on my notepad of all the things, like with the education system, with starting a business, we'll start manufacturing our own drugs in our own country. And like, where would you start? Would you start at trying to manufacture something in America and get yourself to the green line of making a profit, to then buy another one, to then buy a production thing, and all that? I've thought about it 100 times why somebody hasn't done it. Said, okay, the same way we raise money to build a wall, let's raise money to take back our country and just start making the platforms we need, because it is going to cost money to do it. It is. And so, there is that trying to start, because again, there's enough people involved that we know that are some very talented people that know about marketing, know about, accounting, no attorneys I know a woman, her husband's a dang judge. And so it's like, we're out there. It's like, well, who starts it? Who would someone trust enough to say, okay, we're going to do this. Y'all put it here. We're going to do this. Because all of us together could generate that kind of a backing. We could. Conservative, even conservative, more likely Christians are the biggest donators in our country. They are. That's what's kind of ironic about all these crybabies, far leftists that are like, oh, help, resources, da-da-da. Well, guess who's the one donating the majority of those resources that aren't the government? It's the same people you sit there and call a bunch of freaking names and say they're horrible people. It's those people. So yeah, I think trying to do something like that would be amazing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Know enough people. We'll see. All right. It was Sunny.
Well,
you got anything else? Sunny, we done knocked Sunny out. See?
No,
Sunny.
I'm good. I'm listening. I'm here. I'm listening.
Well, and if you missed the
Anything else?
show last night too, be sure to go back on the channel. For whatever reason, last night I was having some issues with Foxhole, and it didn't capture the whole show. It looks like it only captured maybe about 10, 11 minutes of it, so you can go back on YouTube. I will have the actual uploads out over on my archive channels here too, covering the latest by way of Epstein and Maxwell updates. So if you missed that, you can go back and check that out from last night as well. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Wednesday, if not sooner.
And I'll say this, Foxhole was a great example of what a bunch of people can get together and do and create and be a competition to these other platforms to show them that people can do it on your own. So that's a great thing to add. And with that, everybody, have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully we entertained you, brought you a little information. That's what we're here for, and something a little different.
And in my best Daddy Dragon voice, bye.